Welcome, you lovely people. This is another Photoshop edit that we're going to do. This one's called Faucheur. This is actually the second one that I've done, so we're going to call it Faucheur 2. But essentially, if you don't know what Faucheur is, Faucheur montage, it is where, if you have a look at Jean Faucheur on Google, it's where he copies geometric patterns. They could be circles, they could be squares, they could be strips, rectangles, triangles, what have you, and he will copy them in patterns and then resize them, rotate them, blur them, and just to create an interesting sort of formation of artifacts on top of the original. Here we've got a sort of polka dot of circles that are in focus on an out of focus background, and we've also got a bit of sort of beveling here to make those stand out in a 3D effect. So that's what we're going to do today. Let me open my original, which is this one here. So the first thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to press Ctrl J. That duplicates the layer. And what we're going to do with this top layer is we're going to blur it. So we're going to go to Filter, Blur, Lens Blur. And the two sliders here that we want to ramp up are the radius and blade curvature. Roughly about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way up to the right, on the right here. So I've already done it, so I'm just going to press OK. OK, I'm going to hide this top blurred layer by clicking on the eye icon, and I'm going to select my background layer. Okay, now the next thing is we've got to lay these polka dot selections in a nice geometric format, okay, sort of regimented format. So we're going to use rulers to do this, which I will talk about in a sec. But firstly, I'm going to bring up the image size. So, and I'll explain what we're doing here. So image size. Now, to lay out these ruler guides that you will see in a second, I'm going to change my width of the image, and this is a good thing to do to any of your images. Just make sure resample is ticked off here, like mine, and change the units to centimeters if they're not already, and then change the width to 24. Okay, 24 is a number that you can divide by 2, 3, 4, 6, 12, 24. It's a very sort of divisible number, and you will see why in a second we're changing it to 24. Now, looking at the image, you can see my rulers are up here. If the rulers aren't up already, just press Control or Command R for Robert or rulers. So they're off, and then they go on. Notice that the ruler top left is on 0, and on the top right it's 24, just like how we've changed the width in the image size. Now, obviously, I'm going to pull out rulers here, pull out guides from the rulers, and I can sort of put them every 2 centimeters, every 3 centimeters, every 4 centimeters. It depends what you want to do. Usually I do 24 because I sort of decide on the hoof of which sort of measurements I want to pull them out to. So once you either choose 3 or 4 or 2 or 6, you've got to stick with that. I'm going to do it every 3. So I'm going to pull out my guide and put it on 3. Now you should zoom in and do this accurately, okay? For workshop purposes, I'm not going to zoom out. I'm just going to essentially place them as best as I can. If this was going up in the National Portrait Gallery, I would be obviously zooming in and putting those guides exactly on the measurements. Okay, so I expect you guys to do that. Okay, we're nearly there. And can you see how sort of spaced that is and balanced, that we've got one every 3 centimeters, and there we go. Okay, now I've also got to do it vertically, so I'll carry on. And essentially, when you've done this, guys, you will essentially be able to start laying out your elliptical marquee circles for the selection tool. How's your 3 times table? So far so good for me. Right, here we go. 18 and 21 and so on. So I could go on for days here, but I'm going to stop there for the moment. Now, as I say, we're going to use the elliptical marquee tool here. We're going to I'm going to hold down Shift as I do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click down in the crosshair, okay, and I'm going to click and drag and drop in the sort of diagonal crosshair below, and then let go, okay, and you come up with your own grid-like of circles. I could do it in a 4x4 or 5x5. I'm just going to do it every sort of in a diagonal fashion, but as I say, you choose. Now, I'm not going to spend ages doing this because obviously I've got one prepared. Like they say, I've done that before if you watch Blue Peter, they've always got one prepared earlier. So you get the idea. I'm going to click and drag diagonally and drop in each crosshair while I'm pressing the Shift key on the keyboard. Okay, you've got to hold down Shift because it won't delete the old one and keep creating new ones. Okay, so I'm going to go to my image here where I already did a grid of polka dots. They're in my channels layer. I'm just going to press Control and click on this channel, and there they are from earlier. Okay, so, and there were my rulers, but we don't really need the rulers anymore, but you just have to believe me that I made those circles up from that grid. Now the great thing here is I can move these to wherever I want, so I'm going to put one in the middle of her eye, which is quite good because obviously that's a focus point. Now I'm going to go back to layers. This is identical to where we left off on the last one, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control J, and this is going to create a new layer of a grid of polka dot circles. So here we go, and you can see just here in layer 1 that I've got a geometric grid of polka dot circles. You can't see it on the image because it's just obviously repeated on top of the original. However, if I drag that, if I make the blurred one visible and I drag that layer above that top layer, you can start to see that the in focus polka dots are now on top of the blurred layer. And all I've got to do now is I double click on layer 1 to bring up the layer style, or should I say layer properties, and if you click on bevel and emboss, there we go, you start to see the 3D effect that the bevel options do. You can change any of these tick boxes and sliders. Don't personally go too crazy. I think it's better subtle, but here we've got this 3D effect on top of the image. Press OK, and there you go. That is Faucheur. We're just scratching the surface here, guys. I want to see some really, really lovely edits from you guys. Thanks very much for watching. We'll call